Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of What Do You Hunt? We have an incredible panel tonight. Probably be sure to talk about everything from Golden Age, Silver Age, original art, and everything in between. First off, though, I'd like to thank my guests from last week for joining the show, JP's Budget Collect, Los, and D-Runk Comics. We had a great time talking about what their hunting goals are for the year and how they go about it. And we've got a stellar panel tonight. We have the host of the Original Art Hour, co-host of Gotham City Chronicles with JP's Budget Collecting, and the master of the AOK, Comic Books NYC. How you doing, Kavi?
Yo, Jimmy, what's up, man? Got a little bit of the talk radio sexy voice going on tonight, but
right on.
But I'm surviving here. We got 2 feet of snow, so it's been one of those kind of weeks.
I know the feeling. Here in Chicago, we got hit pretty bad too.
Yeah. But thanks for having me on.
Absolutely.
After being snubbed, what, for like 5 episodes?
It comes down to availability and groupings. We had to find the right group of people that could live up to your level of collecting. So hopefully we made that happen tonight, at least with one of them. And speaking of, our next guest is retailer Fine Comics, a staunch competitor on Comigories, and a friend in the chats all across the YouTube comic community. Bona Comics. How you doing?
Pretty good, Jimmy. How you doing?
Great.
Bonafide.
Happy to be here. Happy to have everybody on.
Yep. I've been a member of, Kavi's show before, Gotham City Chronicles.
That's right.
Yes.
And we got the memo.
Yeah.
Right.
Head protection.
It's cold.
It's important to stay warm while you're on YouTube.
That's right.
That is probably a good idea, at least during the wintertime. Well, our final guest is the host of Monday night's No Faces Chat. Please welcome the connoisseur of cleavage covers, the Burgermeister of booby books, Bubs Comics.
What's up, guys?
Here we go.
Here
we go.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Bub is here in the house. You can start the show. This will be my first time seeing this show, but I'm sure all the prior episodes have been fantastic. But much as Kavi said, we were told we were going to be on the first. Everyone was told we were going to be on the first episode.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden,
we all raised our hands for one episode.
Exactly. Then all of a sudden, you found yourself de-invited or uninvited to the group chat, and then you just waited patiently to be invited to a new group chat, which in some cases took up to 2 weeks.
Just remember, we're the 5th most important.
Are we? Is this the 5th episode?
This is how far down the mountain that we.
Holy cow!
We've been slotted
I'm relatively certain nobody who's been on the last 4 episodes actually believes that either. So.
Oh well, we'll figure it out. We'll make it work.
It could be the save the best for last,
Yeah.
So
who's on
in the middle? Like mediocre.
Check back on episode 10. We'll let you know if we saved the best for last.
Yeah, 10 episodes. Is that what you've got scheduled?
That's what we've got scheduled so far. We're deep into March at this point.
All right. Well, we could be at the high point. This could be the high point.
Apex. This is the apex.
Yeah. And it could also be the pivotal episode. If this episode sucks, you may not get any more viewers past this. So we need to ramp up.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. YouTube, we're not worried about viewers.
Yeah, I know.
But speaking of viewers, we are happy to have some in the chat here. We've got Comic Man Andy, who was on our first show.
What's up?
JP's Budget Collect. He was there last week, complaining about a big step down from last week's show. Yeah, you guys can duke that out in the parking lot later.
See, I felt like I was snubbed from that one too. You had all my C2E2 mates like on one show.
There was only 3.
You didn't put me on the Golden Age episode.
This is another Golden Age episode. You got Golden Age.
It is. I don't know about that. This is an all over the place episode.
Not so much.
We'll see.
Bear Island Comics has made it out of the basement.
What's up, Bear?
Good to see you. D-Runk Comics. Welcome back, George. TJ is going to have to watch the replay, but he agrees about taking a step backwards on the guy.
I'm sure of that.
He's just backing up what we're
No
already saying.
respect. No respect. All right. And then Thunderhouse Design is also joining us. Welcome, Thunderhouse. And thank you, everybody else, for watching on the replay. I hope we have a great show after all this commiserating by the collective panel. So let's jump into it, shall we?
One can only hope.
Yeah,
One can only hope. That's true.
I'm excited.
So I know, like I said before, I've tried to group the guests more specifically by the type of things that you guys do collect. So let's just kind of go around the panel. I mean, other than comics, what do you guys collect?
Who's first?
Order? Who's first?
Bobby?
Me. Other than comics, I collect original art, Star Wars related stuff, you know, so like some toys, figures, video games, books, just random stuff if it's related to Star Wars. And those are the main things I would say that I collect. I don't want to go too far beyond kind of those things. There's plenty to do there. I haven't quite gotten into the statues or sort of some of the other popular subcategories within the comic scene. So those are probably the main ones for me.
Excellent.
Yeah.
What about you, Bonafide?
Well, I collect a lot of everything, honestly, because so when we moved back to North Carolina from Virginia, we kind of got our in-laws into the antiquing. So we turned like half their store, because they had a flower shop. We turned half of it into an antique mall. So, and I've been, doing antiques and everything, I'll buy anything I can to flip, just to flip. And I love finding stuff. So hunting and digging in old barns and houses and stuff, that's all I love to do. And because it's all about knowledge. You go in there and you're like, what the hell is this? Like, I'm there. What is this? So then you just like, you just buy it and then see what it is, see if it's worth anything or whatever. Right. Yeah. So I love doing that. And the more stuff you learn, it's amazing. But I collect comics, statues. So I mean, I've got quite a few. I used to have more, but I've kind of sold down because those quarter scale statues, they take up so much space, and the boxes take up so much space. So it's like after a while, I'm like, why the hell do I even have these? Like, I'm just like, I love them, and then you're like, they take up so much space. There's so much stuff I could put in my comic room. So I kind of like start getting rid of them. I started going down to the 6 scale because that's what when I was younger, that's what I remember in the stores was those Bowen design statues. You'd always look at them and be like, that's amazing. So then I started going to the 6 scale. So I've been buying the Tweederhead 6 scale statues. But
what does that look like?
Let me see if I can find one.
I'm just wondering how much space that'll takes up, and
it takes up a considerable amount of space. My wife complains all the time.
Bona Troy 6 scale statue. So.
Oh, that's awesome! Get that closer. Let's blow you up.
So that's what a 6 scale does. It's similar to like the old Bowens. They were kind of 6. They were kind of more like in between 5th and 6th.
I loved those Bowen statues. They were so well detailed. I mean, Sideshow is great, but like Sideshow is like really expensive on that end. I mean, like they're double what Bowen was.
What I liked Bowen, and I liked what Tweederhead was doing. I think they're trying to changing over. I liked how they looked comic accurate, or they looked more like the comic books, and that's why I was into this. Was the comic books? I don't care about them looking like real people. I mean, I want them to look like the comic book characters.
Oh, true, absolutely. I know. I've been a fan of the what is it? The Women of DC ones that they've been doing with Adam Hughes and Frank Cho and some of the other ones. Those have come out really, really nice. But my wife has the same complaint though. It's all the boxes, right? Like I've got a crawl space that's got that's like a quarter full of just boxes for statues. She's like, why don't you throw them out? I'm like, because if I sell them, she goes, what do you mean sell them? I'm like, well, look, it happens, you know, sometimes you get a better one, you want to upgrade, or, you know, you just want to move it along because you're tired of looking at it.
I'm gonna be sleeping. I'm gonna be sleeping in a crawl space pretty soon.
And there's people.
I don't stop collecting.
Cost in New York.
There's third scale statues too. I don't even know why.
Oh, yeah.
Like when they started doing them, I was just like, who would buy these? And then people are buying them. I'm like, okay, well,
yeah, I'm gonna have to check out those tweeter head statues. Those are awesome.
Yeah,
those are very, very cool. J Hood Creative in the house. How you doing, sir? And we got Mang Comics saying hi to everybody. Kachung is here. How are you, sir? What about you, Andrew? How you doing?
Doing pretty good. Just
so what else? What do you collect besides comics?
Well, I'll just say what currently is dividing my budgets. So the things that reach in
your traditional funds,
and my hobby fund, and then kind of pull out. So I do collect some little bit of pops. Haven't picked one up in a while, thankfully. Some statues and some posable statue like the NECA figures and stuff like that. And then right now I've got some guitar stuff going on and a lot of gear and stuff like that. And then
that'll take up some
that used to be my number one hobby / expenditure back in the day.
It's easy to go.
That's easy to spend a ton of money on that kind of stuff, dude.
Yeah. And something you just bought yesterday and you love, you can't wait to replace tomorrow.
Exactly.
Like I never had that feeling with comics. Like comics, I get something like perfect. It's in my collection. I picked the best one of them, but with guitar crap,
there's a lot of with instruments and like studio gear and stuff like that. There's like a technology element to it as well to some degree, and there's always new models and there's new.
That may be true. I mean, that's why I enjoy the software aspect of it, right? Like my main amp is on my iPad, but I still have a stomp box. I still have a stomp board, right, of pedals and boutique amps and stuff like that I really enjoy. Because tube is tube, and tube doesn't sound exactly like tube when you've got it on the digital. Yeah. It sounds damn close.
Yeah, can't get that warmth.
Well, emulation has come a long way in sound design and audio production, though. It's come a long way.
Very true.
Yeah. So doing that, collecting some movies. I kind of started a movie collection. So that's
steelbooks, right?
Yeah, steelbooks. Although I have to say I've picked up a few that weren't steelbooks as well. But just trying to build a little bit of a movie collection because I don't know, not getting political, but I think a lot of that stuff's kind of going away.
VHS or
VHS? No, Blu-rays. Blu-rays, picking up Blu-rays. So that's taking up some budget too. Just invested in a new sound system so I could hear all the, noises and things, and having all my dishes rattle in the kitchen's been nice. So
I believe the VHS is where he keeps his alternate films.
No, I like those in 3D. At least that's what the back of the box always says. It does not necessarily. It may not be referring to the picture quality. But.
Yeah, not necessarily.
Beats the days of moving the satellite.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Well, let's talk about what everybody is here to hear you guys talk about. Let's talk about some books. When you guys go out hunting, where do you find that you do the most buying? Is it local comic shops? Is it cons, local shows, eBay, online sites? What is it? And Bub?
Where am I picking up books generally? Yeah. What's
your top 3 favorite places to go?
I've had something of a rocky relationship with my LCS. So, I gave them a not so great review once, and they took it to heart. And they didn't necessarily kick me out, but it's a little bit strained. So, and one of the reasons that they didn't get the highest recommendation is because they never have anything that I'm looking for, even when it's just simple bags and boards. How could you be a comic shop and not carry Mylars? How could you be a comic shop and not have Silver Age boards in stock at all times? It's like these are to me the building blocks. If you're not covering that.
I can tell you that early last year, there was definitely a shortage of Mylar, just pretty much across the board. My comic shop, he had it coming in like on back order from 2 different sources and couldn't get any in for a while. And then it kind of flooded.
Yeah, I could see
I
that.
went to a comic store in Hickory Bubs one time, and I said, "Do you guys have any supplies?" And they go, "Supplies for what?" And I just wanted to walk out. I was like,
Your comic
"What are you
store
talking
for
about?"
comics.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all.
At the very least, we're looking for comics.
Yeah. So I don't shop there too much, but there are some stores near me, a little bit further away, that I shop at, and there's a nice back issue shop that I go to pretty regularly, and I'll trade them a lot of books. This year I've traded them probably 400 or 500 books in exchange for 30 books. So that's taken in bulk and coming out with some gems.
Well, I've
And
done that more than once, yeah.
so that's been real nice. And then I also shop online, of course, eBay, and probably mycomicshop.com is my number one source. If I had to have all other sources go away, that's the one I would try and keep. So
My comic shop.
yeah, they're my favorites.
I'm with you on that, bub. I love.
I honestly have not purchased more. I think more than once from them. I had a good experience. It just I just don't usually go there. I usually try to find most of my stuff kind of in the wild. But yeah, I'll have to give them a better look.
Mhm.
So let me ask you this: that shop that you found that you were going to more often, was that
Yeah.
in Ohio?
Hell no.
Sorry, I just had to throw that in there.
Did you know that if you go up to Ohio, you know what you find? People from Ohio.
I know they come to North Carolina a lot too.
Yeah, I know. They travel south to Kentucky too. Clog up the roadways. We call them IFOs, idiots from Ohio. But we love you guys from Ohio, really.
I'd like to place the disclaimer that the opinions of Bub's
I love
comic are
everyone.
not shared by everybody else in this panel.
Yeah. And
Publicly.
I had
I have
good
lots of
friends
good
there.
friends in northern Ohio,
We love to
Yeah.
give them hell.
Toledo area, and up that way. I've got a couple of real good friends. But all the southern Cincinnati folk, I can stay on their side of the river.
Yeah, right. So, Kavi, what about you? You like my comic shop? What else? Where else is your favorite places to get books from?
Well, I mean, it's really like as a person that lives in New York City and doesn't have a car, it's kind of hard to answer that question during the era of COVID. Like, 'cause
Sure.
it's been totally different than my normal experience. Like, my normal experience is that there are like 30 plus comic shops in Manhattan / Brooklyn that I could
Wow.
check out, plus other kind of lower key that they don't exactly advertise themselves as comic shops, but you can find comics there, kind of thing. Plus local shows, plus the normal conventions I would go to, on the East Coast between New York, Philly, Boston. So a lot of my old strategy was more in person buying and hunting and finding, with some online to offset it. You know what I mean? But if I'm looking at my last year since C2E2 Chicago a year ago,
Yeah.
it's been primarily online because majority of the comic shops you couldn't have even set foot in 2020 in New York, and you can now, but they're it's not exactly the most convenient way to hunt. You know what I mean? Like, kind of just being kind of cognizant of people, small numbers, packed in tight, wearing a mask. Like, I don't really need to go to Midtown Comics to have that experience right now, frankly. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But prior to the pandemic, I would be all about visiting shops in the area and doing that. I've tried to support some local shops by buying from them online. You know what I mean? Or
They
directly.
provide, right?
Yeah, but it from a hunting standpoint, like it hasn't been the same. So for me, places like my comic shop, or for new books, pre-ordering from Midtown. I don't buy a ton of new books anymore, so that's kind of like a very low on the totem pole thing.
Yeah.
Instagram, the auction houses, Heritage, Comic Link, Comic Connect. I bought from all of them. And eBay, of course, as well. Although I try not to make that my first destination. when searching or whatever, but you know, the volume is there. You know what I mean? Like, if you can't find something anywhere else, it's probably on eBay, at least one copy, you know, maybe not in all cases, but
Yeah.
but that's kind of,
homemade
yeah.
collector.
So I'm kind of like, you know, I'm utilizing the community, I'm utilizing the online places that I'm a fan of, and I'm utilizing auction houses, and then I'm open to new things like the Shortbox app, and other new things that are bubbling up as marketplaces for comics in this new economy that we have. So that's kind of where I'm at, without getting into the specifics of what I'm buying. Obviously, I'm also dealing with original art dealers and original art auction houses and stuff like that, and you know, which is like, you know, its own science or beast. And individual original art collectors as well. So there's a lot of nuance there, but you know, until we get back to some sense of normality, I'm not going to be doing a ton of in-person hunting, obviously.
Yeah, no, and that's a fair point, and actually, that's a question that I was going to get to right after this. Is how has your habits changed since we've been in the pandemic? You know, and obviously, there's considerable more online, you know, resources, but you know, like some people just they haven't really been buying that much, you know, because their normal avenues have kind of shut down. But I will say this: I think it's really incredible that you have 30 stores, you know,
it's something in that range.
Well, I mean, like in the Chicago land area, right? Significant geographic site, you know, between you know the Wisconsin border all the way down to the south side of Chicago. I don't think we have that many stores. Right. You know, like I'd like to see what the geographic area is that covers that map of 30 stores, because that's fantastic.
Like, I don't know how many of those stores are even still in business though now. Like, frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if a certain chunk of the stores in the New York, New Jersey, you know, metropolitan area are no longer in business, which is sad to say.
It's been difficult. Like, you know, when the shutdown happened here, it shut down, you know, obviously all of the stores, and having Diamond shut down and forcing DC to find alternate distribution because they didn't want to be shut down. They wanted to continue to ship books. Yeah. And just, you know, what the potential revenues that were lost there. But, you know, I know my LCS, it drove him straight to Instagram, and he honestly didn't miss a step. Right. In terms of revenue, because he was selling a ton of stuff on Instagram.
I mean, the shops that innovate and adapt and evolve, I think, are coming out of this strong. Whereas shops that didn't get ahead of that curve even before the pandemic, which would have been the time to start experimenting with those kind of things, so that, you know, when the pandemic hit full steam, you would have already been accustomed to how to do transactions through an Instagram claim sale or whatever it may be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Andy, how about you? What do you like to hunt? What's your favorite?
My favorite, I like estate sales, but they don't come up often. And lately, you know, with the pandemic, I haven't really gotten to do a lot of them. But you know, I mean, my biggest buying probably comes from shows, but they haven't been going on as often. So, and it's a lot of times like you kind of know the dealers that you can get good books. So unfortunately, when you guys go to shows, you're already like behind.
Yeah,
because the dealers have already gone around.
They already worked through it.
They've already gone around and tried to get everything they can before the show starts.
Yeah, I like to go to C2E2 on Wednesdays during setup.
Well, but if you guys know any dealers, always try to go with them, because they can get you in early. You can get the book. You can find the stuff. Yeah, that's what I always tell my buddies. Like, if I have because a lot of times my wife can't go, so I'm like, I'll tell my buddies, like, there's a spot open. You want to come? You're more than welcome to use my badge. You know, you can come in, pretend to help me set up. Because I mean, I don't expect them to help me, but
that's awesome.
You know, come in, look around, and then my LCS, he's pretty good, but a lot of times it's like he knows that I'm just going to come buy the books. So it's almost like I'll pick up the books and he's like, well, let me look them up on eBay. And it's like, okay, well,
Here, why don't I hand these back to you and go find somebody else that knows their business?
I know it's frustrating, but I mean, it's what you got to do, and he knows that I'm a seller too, so it's like he gives me wiggle room, but it's just like, come on, man, have the stuff priced.
Exactly. Stop being the guy who's just going to hunt on eBay for the price and come up with some average plus 20%.
So yeah, I mean, a lot of times I just hope the collections come to me. Hopefully I'll have enough ads out or something that somebody calls me. But I don't have a physical store, so it's hard for me to get collections. I have to go hunt them.
Yeah, I hear you.
Here's a funny story. So I was driving by, like, downtown. I'm not going to tell you what store.
Downton, is that where the Abbey is?
Yeah, downtown. But there was like this guy spinning like buy like a comic sale or whatever, and I was like, oh, it's the comic store here. I was like, My wife's like, why don't you go check and see what sales they have? I'm like, who cares, what are they really gonna have a sale? Well, I come back around and we eventually go to the comic store, and I'm like, well, hey, what sales are you having on? And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, I guess I'm having I'll do like 10% off the back issues and whatever. And I'm like, okay. Well, that guy that was flipping the thing, he was actually selling comic books at like the soup kitchen. So I could have literally gone over there and bought that whole collection. He brought a trailer over to the comic store, and that comic store gave him $200 for that whole freaking trailer. And I was just like, I mean, I'm not gonna get. I wasn't gonna undercut be like, I'll give you 300 because there's a lot of good stuff here. I was just like, are you kidding me? Oh well. But I was just like, I could have gone over there and bought that, but I just thought it was on the block of the comic store, so I didn't even go over to talk to the guy.
And when you go into a shop often enough and they don't diversify their product, they don't turn over their inventory, you just get bored of going in, and you're like, I know what they've got, and they don't ever get anything new, except weekly books.
I couldn't believe that he only gave him $200. I was like, all right. Like, I will give you guys more than that. Just remember that.
So true. So take a little info pause. I'd like to thank the 24 people who are actively watching this show. That's the highest number we've had yet. And I'd like to thank my panelists for bringing out all of their friends and family and paying people on the street to come watch the show tonight. Oh, now we're down to 22.
So my wife wants to tell me what was in the collection. Just one of the books that was in that collection was a New Teen Titans #2. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, that was $200 alone.
Just one book. Yeah.
Oh, it's rough. Absolutely rough. So let's turn back to the comment before that Kavi was making, which was another question I wanted to ask is, how have you guys adapted to the pandemic in terms of what you buy? What have you found to be your new best outlet? Bub?
Well, cons are gone. It's funny you guys mentioned that. I was like, I forgot. I've forgotten how much I used to save for con budgets. Yeah. Because that was something that was planned all year. So certain months, certain times leading up to a con, I'd be like, nope, I'm on a buying freeze. Even if I see something for a good deal, I'm not buying it because I want to have the maximum amount to spend at a convention, or plus you had hotels and everything else. So, but now it's more of a normal routine. Like, I don't feel a season anymore to collecting. Now it feels like it's the same all year, or at least it has been for the last year. Yeah. Steady. I have a Monday routine. I have a Monday morning routine. I have a Friday night routine that goes to how I hunt and how I look for stuff, where I look for things. And then through the week, it's just kind of steady. And I just hunt everywhere, every day, everywhere, pretty much. Is what I do. So I have all my favorites saved, all bookmarked at work. I go into work, start loading up tabs. Of course, in addition to doing all my regular work, Yeah. I can multitask,
So you work in insurance, right? So nobody's coming in.
Insurance, yeah. One thing I can tell you YouTube. I have three set. I have one side of the screen is YouTube, and then the center is my regular work, and then the far right is for comic purchasing and bidding and stuff like that. So a third of my attention is straight for work. So nothing wrong with that. But yeah, what's changed has really just been that in-person hunt hasn't been there as much. Still going to like flea markets and stuff like that and having some luck there. And when hopefully this spring we'll be back in yard sales, and I look forward to that too. So that should be good. Instagram buys, still doing that. That's kind of better books are showing up on Instagram now than used to. I'm sworn off Facebook. I think that's a rat trap for the most part. I've had good experiences, but it's the only selling avenue that I've had more bad experiences than good experiences. So, I've got some good books off there at good prices, but most of the time it's been a bad experience. So I'm
for Instagram,
like Facebook Marketplace, or
Facebook. Okay.
Facebook, anything.
Yeah.
Facebook live sales, Facebook
the live sales.
Everything Facebook is, to me, it's like so far.
Yep.
In my experience, for me, in my area, because a lot of it has to do with where you're at,
Yeah.
As a dealer, all the live sale guys, and they come around and buy stuff from you. And I know the good ones, but there's some that buy from me. And I'll put, I make sure to have, what the price, like what the grade is and everything. Yeah. And my buddies are like, "Do you see that book they bought from you? They put it up there on the auction last night, and they said it was near mint plus." I'm like,
and that's wrong.
As long as they take my sticker off,
yeah,
they can do whatever they want to.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point. I mean, you can exhaust what you're searching for on eBay, or never get your saved results, after a while, or whatever, and you start looking other places. Like I've looked on Facebook Marketplace a ton, almost never get there in time. There's just too much competition in the New York City area for posts that visible, in a marketplace. I've tried OfferUp, I've tried the Mercari app. So there's all these other kind of like developing places that people are listing stuff, but I haven't found them to be quite as consistent, or the people as knowledgeable, of course, as places like Instagram, YouTube community, eBay, and what have you, the dealers, etc.
I've got some good stuff off of OfferUp.
I've tried. I haven't.
But I think lately, I haven't seen a lot lately. Like, I've got like alerts set, and I pop in there, and it's like some 90s garbage, or some people selling, their indie, what is it? Image books, from the 90s for $200 for 5 books.
Yeah, in my area, it's so rural. There's no Mercari or OfferUp or all those sites. When you open up the app, you download the app, you open it up, it says 0 results found for anything you're looking for.
Right. You either find nothing, or there's just too many people looking at the same things, like in my case.
Or it's because you're in Kentucky.
Yeah, it's just in my little area of Kentucky. Every now and then you'll see something a little bit. Those are pretty far from me.
That's where you're going to find the good stuff, though, is in Kentucky.
Right, yeah.
I'm just, from my experience, the best tool around is get your name out there. Just go to every place you go, be like, "Hey, I buy comics."
Yeah,
comics. Tell somebody, tell your sister, your mother,
everybody.
And that's
you want to be known as the comic guy.
Yeah,
when people think of comics, they want either you directly or people like in a chain. We're like, "Hey, I have a brother's cousin's friend who said you were the guy." I'm like, "Yeah, he's right. I'm the guy." They're like, "She." I'm like, "Whatever. I'm the guy." Give me your links. So in my office at work, it's decorated all in comics. So not this room, but in my office at work. So whenever a client comes in, it's staring him in the face, and I make sure I have something from every age group. So I have modern books, even though I don't collect that much modern. I have modern books. I have everything all the way back to Golden Age, and including memorabilia, posters, signed stuff. That way, if anybody comes in and they say, "Hey, what do you got?" And sometimes you get an odd look. Doesn't bother me. Usually they'll say, "My dad collected those," or my older brother had some of those, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, where are they now?"
On that one.
Yeah, I keep it clean. A lot of Western stuff too. I'll put like things that help in the area, and they're like, I'm like, well, where is your dad's collection? Oh, we sold it years ago, or it's still in my attic. We'll bring it by next time. I'll help you see if there's anything of any value. And inevitably, I can't tell you how many collections I've looked at that were just 90s Superman, but every now and then,
Bronze Age Superman drives me nuts.
Still in the poly bag.
Because the longest time I was trying to complete my bronze Batman, and I'd buy a huge collection. It was like pristine bronze Superman. I'm like, where the hell is the Batman? I'm like, I collect Batmans. I'm like, well,
I did that once. I think I bought a collection that had like 3 long boxes of 90s books that I didn't want because I wanted 10 to 12 TMNT first print books that he had.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
I mean, you go to the USPS, and you're dropping off the books that you like sold or whatever. You'd be like, hey, I sell comic books. Tell everybody, because it's one of those people are gonna be like, you know what? I knew a guy who had like a house full of comic books. Let me see if I still have his number.
Yeah.
I've gotten contacts that way. I mean, spreading your name out there is the best way, and that you'll buy. Don't rip people off because it'll come back and bite you. I know people.
Yeah. Make fair offers.
Fair offers, yes.
But what you're willing to pay. I always tell people, you could get more for this somewhere else. This is what I'm willing to pay.
Mm-hmm.
You want to go through the struggle of finding some other place to sell it? I'm not going to help you do that.
Sometimes I explain to them how much Heroes Con costs. I'm like, you know how much a corner booth at Heroes is? And then I tell them, and they're like, their eyes get wide, and you're like, yes, that's how much it costs.
$1,500 a day.
No, Heroes is like $950.
Chicago's $1,500 a day. Yeah, it's rough.
It's like
just tells you the difference in the economic areas.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But I've done I've done a number of things. I've done estate sales. I've made some killings at estate sales.
Mm-hmm.
And when I buy like collections from people, it's either they've already got something out there, or like I'll go through it and I'll go, well, how much do you want for it? And like I've got a number in my head of what I'm willing to pay for it. And if it doesn't match up, I'll let them know where I'm at, and we'll either negotiate or we won't, and it's like, hey, thanks for coming by, because don't overpay ever.
Well, if I can't get it into an Uber, I'm pretty much screwed. So.
Do they have Uber U-Haul services? Or,
no, not quite.
You can cut down North Carolina coffee.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good stuff. So, what I thought was funny is that I didn't hear anybody say anything about the plethora of YouTube auctions that have been out for the last year. Are you guys hitting up any of those or no?
No.
Well, I mean, we see all the head shaking, but I've got some from YouTube auctions, but I have kind of a range where that piques my interest. If I turn on a YouTube auction and it's got more than 40 people in it, then I'm out. If I turn on a YouTube auction and I see over 100 people in there, then I already know that there's not that many. I have a theory on the YouTube community. I think really there's only about 2,000 or so active participants. And then everyone else is just a revolving door of new collectors and old collectors leaving and new collectors coming in. And when you have an auction that large, there's usually, or especially if a channel has more than like 5,000 subs, then that already tells me that they've got about 3,000 subs that are not seasoned collectors and know the true value of the books. So you got a lot of crazy bidding going on, and there's a lot of hype to the book, like, oh my God, it's the first book I had. You got to get this Demon one. It's gonna get options. It's gonna be huge. Do you know who Jack Kirby is? You have no idea. You're gonna love this book. It's huge. This is in fantastic condition. It's like a 4.0, and you see all that happen, and then you see somebody bid like, $75 for this book, and I'm like, I'm out. Like that's just, I don't want to be any part of that. So when I see the real big auctions, I jump ship. And when you see the real small ones, like something less than 20 people watching, then the sellers don't bring out good books. Unless it's someone that doesn't sell often, like I never see this guy selling, then I'll watch because he's probably just going to bring out whatever he has to sell. But if it's a regular show and they're only getting like 20 viewers, and you're not going to get good books in those either. So I kind of wait until an auction gets somewhere between 20 and 40 in that 30 range, and then I'll watch for that period of time, and every now and then I'll scoop up a book, but it's rare. I've probably picked up 10 books in YouTube auctions in the last year, and in separate purchases. Like, I'm not building boxes with anybody, you know, but I like them and I enjoy them. And people,
I'm a fan of them.
I felt sorry for them before.
Yeah, like, no,
I mean,
I like the YouTube auctions. It's just that there's so many of them, and like, so my you know, my reasoning is probably less strategic and more just time management. Like,
time. That's what I was
like
say.
by bypassing, like you know, I'll get on YouTube and do a claim sale every once in a while, but I'm not like a daily grinder or weekly warrior when it comes to those kind of things from a seller standpoint, right?
Yeah.
And then from a buyer standpoint, there's just too many. There's just so much noise, and I just have more of a clear head if I'm not constantly in the back of my mind saying, oh, well, I got to check out this auction and then that auction and then that auction, like every day or every week. It's just overwhelming, and I'd rather just avoid the temptation altogether. You know, because a lot, like to Bub's points, a lot of it is books I'm not interested in. But sometimes I'll be like, oh, that's not a book that I really don't want for my PC, but that seems like a decent price. Maybe I just snagged that, you know,
Well, I mean,
and maybe I'll decide what to do with it later. You know, like maybe I can sell it.
Different level too, Cobby.
Yeah.
We're not on.
I'm not. Yeah, it's like I'm going after more specific stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, and it's
I generally
just don't have time for it.
The time management is really key too, because if you know what you want and you're after something specific, it already takes a long time to survey all the places you made.
I'm not going to sit on a YouTube auction for 30 minutes before like the book I really want just comes up. I mean,
yeah, for real.
Sorry.
Well, yeah, like it depends. Like if you saw the seller had advertised the book, you're like, I want that book. I'm going to bid on that book, and it like shows up at the end. You're like 4 hours into it.
That rarely happens.
Yeah.
Out of capital.
And I'm not against them. I mean, I'm glad they're there. They're fun to hang out in, if you will.
Yeah, I have no problem with them, but I'm not. I mean,
they're fun to watch. They're fun to watch. Just pass.
They're fun to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, I like them because they usually buy books from me at the shows. So.
Yeah, that's good.
So I give them good deals because I know they got to sell it. So I'm like, there you go.
That's fair.
Well, so let's really kind of get down to brass tacks. Do you guys make a list this year, like a specific targeted list of things that you're looking for that you want to accomplish by the end of the year, or do you guys do that, or
who's going first here?
Anybody, take it, Cobby.
I'll go. Okay. Well, I haven't done like a target books or grails list in a couple years. I think the last time I did one was 2018. And I just feel, I guess, more freedom as a collector when I don't have a list, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Especially for some of the bigger categories that I target, like some Golden Age books, like Batman, Superman, things like that. It's like
the opportunity isn't always there, right?
Yeah, it's like opportunity is the key word. I'm a very opportunity-driven buyer or collector. But that said, there's a couple like minor things that I am actually looking to complete, because I'm not really a run collector. Like, I don't need a full ASM run. I don't even need a full Star Wars original Marvel run. I have the keys and the important books that I want.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with that.
But there's two things that I am trying to complete. One is all the Jenny Frison Wonder Woman covers, of which I think I'm like 5 or 6 away. I'm not going to say which issues.
No, you're not gonna
what if I have one?
You don't have a slide deck?
Well, maybe backstage. Yeah, I got a list backstage. So I think I'm like 5 or 6 books away from completing that Jenny Frison Wonder Woman cover set, which is, it's like a departure from like my main collecting. It's like this very specific artist, modern cover set that was like epic run of covers, right?
Yeah, I dumped all the whole Rebirth across the board, and I kept the Jenny Frizen that I had, some of the Middletons, that were out there, and primarily anything that was that Art Germ did.
Yeah, so that's a very minor one. The other one that I've already made it known on my channel and on Instagram and other places that I'm trying to complete the TMNT Volume 1 run, of which, there's different ways you can look at completing that. You can just focus on first prints only. You can focus on getting every single print of every single issue number, of which that increases the list of the books that you need to get. You could go a step beyond that and just go really mental about it and be like, I want the error for number 4. I want the the alternate version of number 3, where there's where Peter Laird's the text for Peter Laird is in white instead of blue. There's very specific versions of some of those books. So I don't, I'm not going to go crazy and have to get every single little error, random version of it. At first I was targeting, okay, but I do want all the multiple printings. I want, the third print of number, 2 or whatever, because a lot of the first 10 have multiple printings, right? That was my attitude prior to the year 2020 and what went down with Turtles.
When it was available and cheap, right?
Right. And I achieved the big boy grail there, TMNT number 1 first print. Before that went nuclear. Yeah. And I'm super happy and proud about that. But at the same time, now I'm looking at number 1 second print, number 1 third print, and I'm looking at those prices and I'm like, you know what? I think I'm good with just being a first print collector. No, I
don't blame you, man. I don't blame you. It's ridiculous.
Just remember the other
you're allowed to adjust on the fly, based on the market, right? So I'm adjusting that goal on the fly based on the market.
If seventh prints of modern books are going for $800 and a 9.8, it's like, what?
Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at with that particular subset of my collecting goals. I think I have, if I'm only focusing on first prints, I think I'm 13 or 14 books away from completing the run. And out of those 13 or 14, pretty much all of them are run fillers, with the exception of one book. So I'm getting closer. So that's kind of my main run focus as a collector. Every single other goal or objective or strategy that I have around collecting is centered around original art. And I don't know if you want to talk about that now. We can maybe circle back to it, because that might take a second for me to talk about.
Sure. We'll go through the books and we'll pop back on that. I know that's something that some of the people here have some interest on. Mm-hmm. All right. Andy, Bonafide Comics. What's your list, man?
Okay, so I'm like hobby. It's more of opportunity, because if a collection comes in, all those books I care about go out the window. I have to buy the collection, obviously. But there's
a business proposition, right?
I gotta buy it.
Are you pulling personal books out of that?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. What was the last thing that you last collection you bought? What was your top 3 books that you pulled out that you kept that were personal?
On the last, trying to think.
Put you on the spot and come back to that.
I'm trying to think. I don't know if I pulled anything out in the last collection.
All right, the last collection you did pull something out.
Oh, I probably pulled some Batmans that I needed.
Getting that bronze run.
Yeah, in that bronze runs, but I'm complete. I'm done with the 200. So
that's awesome. I was trying to go after that last year. I was like, I'm going to target getting the bronze Batman and Detective. And, obviously, it became more difficult with the shows and everything. I bought a big run of because it was bronze to current, right? So I bought a big run of 200 and 300, late 200, early 300 Batmans, and kind of filled out from there and sold off the rest and picked up the 227, which is the big one in the bronze area.
Mm-hmm. I had to give up at shows, because I'd go and I'd be like, "Do you have this book?" And they'd be like, "There'd be one dealer, and he'd pull out the dirtiest, junkiest book." No offense, but I was like, "That's not cutting it." I was like, "No." So I just had to go on Comic Link or eBay or something. I had to wait till Christmas when all my family gave me eBay gift cards. I was like, cha-ching.
Right.
I was like, there we go. But yeah. Yeah, I actually haven't kept a lot from the last couple collections. Yeah, maybe a couple Batmans, but not really anything. Actually, yeah, I have a. There is one run that I've collected, but I'm keeping it because I've been kind of hoarding this stuff because I feel like it's gonna explode eventually one day, and I'm not telling.
Backstage.
Yeah.
Backstage.
Backstage, I will tell backstage. But
there's no benefit for me having the show if I can't
Let's just end the show right now, guys.
Yeah.
got it.
We'll be right back after these messages.
Well, if you see me at a show and you see me going around looking for it, you'll be like, "Oh, that's what he's looking for."
Yeah.
Follow you with a camera and a microphone.
But yeah, I haven't really been. I got to the point where I kind of collected what I'd been looking for like years ago, and then there's just like rare things. Like I posted on that like my wish list that Nightwing DC Universe logo variant. I've never even seen one.
No, those DC Universe logo variants are tough. Like I came across a stack that was like one of the months, right? Like that they did.
Yeah.
And like that was it.
I like that weird stuff anyways. Like I have like a whole box of DC Universe logos, but I'm like, I've never even seen a Nightwing. There's Nightwing 1 and 2. I'm a huge Nightwing fan, if you guys didn't know. Dick Grayson fan. And I've never even seen a DC Universe logo variant of 1 and 2. I mean, there's a number 2 online, but I'm not paying whatever they want. But because it's not even like a high grade. Mm-hmm. But another modern book I've been looking for. I've been wanting a Deathstroke 58 and that CGC 9.8 Deathstroke 58, and I've been looking for that book for probably 5 years. I still haven't found them. I've probably missed a couple auctions that I could have bought it, and I saw like I had like hit sold. I'm like, son of a gun, one sold like a week ago, and I missed it. But I've been looking for a Deathstroke 58 high grade. I bought like supposedly high grades online. Maybe I could submit them, and I'd get them in. I'm like, I was like, this isn't hitting 9.8.
Back cover tears.
And I never give people bad ratings when they're like, because people can't grade. I know they can't. So I'm just like, oh, whatever. So I just accept my failure and I move on. But then as I got into collecting, as Cobbie knows, we get into the golden age because I'm a Dick Grayson collector. And the only way you can go Dick Grayson is old. You keep going backwards. You keep going backwards with the golden age because he's Robin. You keep going backwards.
Mm-hmm.
You open that floodgate of the golden age, and it's just, I mean, it's like Pandora's box. The golden age is Pandora's box.
I've been trying so hard not to just
get into the golden age. It's sickening.
I start dipping the toe in a little bit, and I'm just like, I gotta finish the Silver Age stuff.
Because you start getting into artists.
Yeah,
you don't collect like.
Yeah, you don't really collect runs that often.
Runs because I collect Star Spangled because it's Robin, the Robin cover. You can collect like runs, but you're more following like artists or. So I got into like Russ Heath, and I got really big in because I also collect Willis Jeeps because I'm a huge Jeep fan. I collect Willis Jeep covers. I'm one of the craziest like Willis Jeep cover. Golden Age collector. So if there's a Willis Jeep on the cover of a Golden Age book, I probably have it, or I've been like trying to find it. So like that gets you into war books. So for a long time, I've been into war comics because of the Willis Jeep, and you start finding like, damn, all these Russ Heath covers are freaking awesome.
I'll sell you all of mine if you're still into them.
Oh, I'm in. If you got Russ Heath, I'll buy them.
I got a few.
Okay. And I'm and one I've been looking for is War 11. It's like that. It's basically like Russ Heath's one of his biggest books. It's like the flamethrower.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
And I wish Guru had one, and I thought he wasn't going to sell it, so I didn't even like worry about asking him. But apparently he did, and he sold it like a week before I asked him. I was like, "Hey, you going to sell that book?" He's like, "I just sold it." It's like, God. But
tough.
Yeah, so you get into, I mean, I got into the history. So you start reading about the history because, you start digging into the Golden Age. So then I want like a crime suspense 22 because of how much it means to the comic book community or the whole comic books in general.
That's
I
the
want that
separate
book
cover.
because it's, I mean, it is the comic book that put the comics code on the books. That is the one that he held up at the trial. So I mean, I want a really nice one of that one because it's almost like it's history. It's not just about comic books at that point. It's like everything. So I mean, there's a couple books I want because of that. So, and I'm always looking for Batmans in the Golden Age. So if I've been rambling on for.
No, it's a lot of stuff. Good.
That's what we're here for.
I was like, what the hell?
That's gonna be 2 years worth of hunting. I don't know how much you can run through that. That's a lot.
Bobs, did you make yourself a little list this year?
I did not.
Focus targets?
No, because for the first time, I made a 6-book list for 2020, and I got every book on the list, and that's never happened. I've never completed a want list, and it included big keys and Golden Age books that I just didn't think I'd get. Plus, I had a book that was so high on the list, I didn't put it on the list, and I got that too. So I was like,
you were so successful, you figured you should stop doing it.
Yes. It worked out so well that I'm going to pull back, and instead I'm going to I'm putting off my big books for 2022. Like that's going to be my holy cow books, right? Are going to be 2022. So for this year, my focus is to finish the runs that I have started and try and get those completely finished, buttoned up. And that way, when that's done, I won't be distracted by all these. Oh, well, that book's only $20. That book's only $30. And I start, picking them up, and it depletes my funds. So the idea is to really focus on all the runs that I've already started this year, and I'm not far from them. I'll probably have them buttoned up by, say, mid to the end of summer, and then I can already start looking and start building budget for the rest. So Catwoman Volume 2, Jim Balent run. I think he did 77 issues in that run, so I'm working on that. Batman the Animated Series complete run, Volume 1. I'm about 13 books from that, and none of them are the keys. I have Batman 12. I've got so I'm working on that one.
I got some of those for you, Bob. I got that one big one. I'll part them out.
I need some of those. Yeah, I appreciate that.
I'm working on that run too.
Are you really?
All right, both.
I think I need like 3 at the end.
That's close. I'm close on that one. A couple of other like Kavi said, there's some runs you kind of decide how you want to work on those. So one of those odd runs that I have, like he was mentioning, where you're collecting not just the main series but then offshoots, is Tomb Raider. So Tomb Raider Volume 1, I collected every issue of every first print. And then I was like, you know what? There's some badass variants. And, Top Cow really, they made variants.
Yeah,
some of those have 6 or 7 variants for the same, all different art. So my goal is to have every variant of that run that has original art on it. So in some cases, they just did like a foil to the title instead of the regular. That doesn't interest me as much. But if it has a different cover art, then I want it. Even if, and some of them were convention books that they put out as convention exclusives that tie back in to the original run, but were done later. To me, that counts. If it's got the same indicia, it says the volume and the number, and it's got different cover art, then I want it. So as an example, there's only 50 books in that Volume 1 run, and I'm already up to about 85 books. So there's 35 more books that were just variants that I've already collected, and I still have probably about 15 to go that I'm aware of, because some of those kind of pop up. I'm like, I didn't even know that was there. So, and of course, I have to buy it when that happens. So that's been a big one that I've been working on. And then, of course, My biggest run that I'm working on is Golden Age run, and you don't hear this very often. Like Andy said, you just don't usually hunt down a whole run of Golden Age books. But I'm working on an Atomic Age run of Planet Comics, and it's a 73 book run. And I have right now I'm somewhere around 37 issues of the 73. So I'm hard charging on that, cracked over the halfway mark about. And I have a couple of doubles here and there that I just happen to acquire, and I'm holding in case I need to do a quick sell and pivot to a bigger book. Rivet issues, and also as a side collection to that. So that'll cost money. I mean, I say I'm filling in runs this year. It's still going to be an expensive year. It's still going to be a costly year.
Well, especially with Planet Comics, right?
Yeah, those are about as, even in low grade, they're going to be about as much as any mid-range key is going to cost you in any age. So
yeah,
they get really up there. But what I'm trying to do on the Planet Comics run is I'm trying to eventually, my overall goal is to crack into the top 20 on the register, on the CGC registry. So that means I also have to submit a lot more books than I'm used to submitting for my personal collection. So I'll be submitting a lot more books to CGC for that reason, for this Planet Comics run. I'm trying to get as many to them. I sent 5 to them yesterday. Yesterday. So the hope is that with that run alone, I should crack into the top 30 with what I sent in Monday. But the top 20 is probably going to take me a little while. But if I can do that by the end of the year, that would be really sweet. And that's just a little personal goal. And then also to have a complete run of that. There's not one on the registry currently. Really? So there may be some complete runs out there, but there's not a complete run on the registry. So I'd like to have that. Now, that won't secure me number one spot either. I gotta have a complete run, and I'll still probably just barely.
Somebody's got a higher graded registry on that.
Yeah, I mean, there's guys out there with 2 books on the registry that are in the top 10 just because they have a 9.0 of something that came out in 1942.
Right.
I mean, that's pretty hard to do, and that's impressive in its own right. But that's not what I'm going for. So,
sure.
So that's my main focus for this year. Oh, my Daredevil run. So I'm working on the first 11 issues of Daredevil, which are the Jack Kirby, Wally Wood run.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm only 1 book away. I'm missing Daredevil number 2, so that's pretty high on my draft list.
Recently,
tough book right now too because of the Electro.
Which one's 2?
Second appearance of Electro,
yeah.
God, I had a decent copy of that one.
And his first cover. Is she on the
cover?
Better situation to be in than needing Daredevil 1 to complete the run, though.
I know.
What grade are you looking at, Bubs? Because
complete cover.
Oh, I would have made it. But I like the first show, I had it in the first show, like it sold. But I was like, dang, if I didn't known.
Yeah, I mean, it's an available book.
Which one of those, it's sold pretty. The first show I went to, somebody.
I've had access to it before, but I've always kind of backburnered, these runs, filling in these runs, and I get them here, get them there. But now this year I'm going to really focus and knock that out. And I needed 3 books when I started the year, and I've already picked up 2 of them in that run. So I'm just down to that last one. And then the other thing that I'm working on is just trying to, when I first started collecting, there were books. You guys remember? I mean, surely you remember a time when you said $10 for a book. These guys are out of their minds.
What was the hardest hump? I'll ask everybody.
What do you mean for this past year?
Price to get over $100.
First price to get over was $20.
I could not do 100 for the longest time.
I could do 100.
Oh, you mean as far as spending?
When you were.
When I was spending my own money on books, I mean, hitting 100 was brutal.
It was like a stratosphere.
But after the first time you drop a K on a book, then it's I don't ever want to go over that.
To me, it was once I was to over 1,000, I was like, whatever.
Every time I spend the most for a book that I've ever spent, I say that's the most I'll ever spend.
Right.
I went to San Diego Comic-Con in 2014, and that kind of opened up the floodgates. I didn't really start spending big money on comics until 2015, but that gap closed pretty quickly for me. And I'm glad because a lot of the things I picked up, 2015, 2016, 2017 are a lot harder to pick up now.
A lot harder.
Like your multiple amazing fantasy number 15?
Yeah, I mean, almost every example
15
you
of
can
them.
name, it's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
if I was hesitant for much longer, then I probably wouldn't have a lot of my Grail books, I guess.
Well, once you're in it,
I feel it.
you kind of know, like, you kind of know the numbers. It's like the number games. Like, oh, I know I can get this for this book. So it's like,
Right.
Mhm.
But when you look back, like I'm at the point now where I'm looking back at all the books that I said I'll never own that book. It was a $40 book. Like I'm looking back and I'm like, I still remember those books as if they were super unattainable. And I was like, I'll never own that book. And I look back and I'm like, that's only $40. Oh
Well,
crap!
I love it though. As a
Buy it now.
I'm on the other end of it. Like I'm on the other side. Like I love it when people come up and they're like, getting that first Grail, and it's like, you got to give them a deal because it's like, man, they're getting their first Grail. To me, I love it. I'm just like,
I remember. I want to say it was probably about 96 when I bought my first X-Men 94,
Mhm.
and it was like $100, or no, it was like $50, $60. It was beat to shit, but it was like I finally have an X-Men 94, right? And I had that thing forever, and I think I sold it for like, I don't know, like 2-3 times as much. Like later on, like when I was strapped for cash, like when I first moved to Chicago, like I had to unload that because I was just strapped for cash. And it took me until 2 years ago to get another copy, and I got a super nice like VF copy for $300. And if there's one thing that you pick up from this is that within a 20-year period, that book didn't go up that high in price until last year when that book shot up.
Right.
And it was just, yeah.
I remember. I mean, you know, Geek, Jimmy, when you could get probably like a 9.4 for like what, $2,000 or something. I don't even know.
I mean,
Mine's a 9.0, and I got it for $300.
Well, that particular book is benefiting from the price movement of X-Men #1 and Giant Size X-Men #1.
Exactly. I mean, and we know that there's a lot of
if you buy a condo in an up and coming neighborhood, and then 5 years later prices are out of control and people are priced out of that neighborhood, then the adjacent neighborhood goes up.
Yeah,
it's the same premise.
Yeah. And I get it, but it's like, 20 years where that book just kind of idled, just really didn't increase in value that much. But I just remember like that was a tough book to get. Like the only thing I could get was like a 2.5, just, beat to hammered to shit, for like $40-$60 at the time.
I've always been really lucky on that as well. I've always picked up books sometimes months before they explode. I picked up my Giant Size X-Men 1 about 4 months before it exploded. My Hulk 181 I picked up I swear it was only a month. Like I swear that the same book jumped like $300 a month after I bought it. And just have got really lucky with that. I feel like my instincts on that, like somehow they work. The only books that I ever regret not buying are ones I truly couldn't afford at the time. I was at a convention. Right. I've already dropped $400. I got $100 left, and there's a book for $200, and I'm like, oh, if I had seen that book first, maybe I'd have bought that. And then the book shoots up or something like that. But that you can't.
That's always gonna happen.
And a couple of books that I've sold that I had no idea were gonna blow up. But the truth is, I still would have sold them. I just would have sold them now and got more money for them than I would have then. So you can't be too upset about that either,
True. Very true. It is pretty incredible some of the prices that have gone up, and it's difficult to obtain some of these books now, and that's why. But that's part of the reason why I actually started making the list is that like I'm an opportunity buyer. I'll go to to a shop I know has got some good stuff, like my local Honey Hole. And it's like, I'll go in there and I'll drop a few $100s, just getting great stuff. And none of it's focused target on anything that I'm trying to get. It's just like, hey, I didn't have that, or like, some hot Dave Stevens covers that I didn't have, or, other keys that may have come up. but I felt that I was like, even though I'm filling out these runs, right? Because I do have like these Silver Age runs that I'm trying to complete, that I needed to be able to focus some attention on some of the bigger books, because if I keep just kicking them on down the road, we wind up with situations like now where it's like just keep going, just shooting up. Amazing Spider-Man Annual 1 is one of those books, right? It was always, a decently priced book, but now it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
A lot of books are like that lately.
Yeah. And the sad fact is that on a lot of those, especially the older books, I don't see them going down. Right?
No,
when the Avengers hit, and Captain America and stuff like that, those books shot up, and I have watched the prices, like, because I got them around that time, not like right at the height of it, but like I got them raw, for a really good price or whatever. But I've seen those books just, they're just slowly cascading downward, but they'll plateau out still, and like back to a reasonable area, reasonable level, books like, Avengers #4. So those, will eventually, kind of, mark it back in. But the Avengers is kind of a bad case because it's not really the true first appearance of anybody. It's first group, first Captain America in the Silver Age, not his true first appearance. But
it's like Kyle was saying, the eBay market has got really hard right now because there's so much attention. The information is so rapid right now.
Yeah.
If a book gets hot or there's some new book that comes out, it's instantaneously on eBay for triple the price, and then it just keeps
collector.
No, like I was telling Man Cave this the other day, but like I check my comic shops like recently in stock, both by Golden Age, Silver Age, by the books that they have slabbed only. Like I'm constantly checking like those kind of search results, because it's like if I can be the first to pounce on something that's mispriced or at least priced fairly, then I'm ahead of the game. And I was like a trigger finger away from pulling the trigger on an ASM 14. I think it was a 6.0 for 2,500, which was $400 lower than the last GPA sale at like 2880 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I didn't do it. And I went the next morning to go back and do it. And the price was 3,300.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, mother, and I didn't buy the book, but
that's like first Craven. I think I've lost the boat on that. Like I wanted one, and now I'm just like, unless one comes in my lap, I'm not paying what people want.
That happens too. Some books you just have to put out of your mind and say, you know what, this may never happen.
Hey, just like I was gonna say, just because I have it on my list, or just because we have it on your list, you don't need to buy it.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't have to. It's just what your top priorities are. And
oh, sure. And like, I'm always going to look for like what's in my price range. Like I picked up the first book off of my list this year 2 days ago. Right. But it was like, I waited until it got down to the price that I wanted to pay for it, because I'm going to get it. I'm going to clean it and press it. And then I'm going to send it to CGC and get it, at the level that I want it to be at for the value that I want it to be at. But I'm never going to pay that full value. That's just me. But like if you're hunting for stuff, if you're out there in the marketplace, don't get baited in. Don't get drawn into something. It's, for the love of God, stop spending money on store variants that aren't worth a shit. They're pretty. Wait a couple of months, get them.
Yes or no. I mean, the collector, there might be collectors out there that are buying that where that's their focus, and
if that's your focus, but like,
they like to collect, and there's really nothing wrong with that.
You're looking for it for like long-term value.
Yeah.
Collecting and investing there's some crossover in collecting and investing, but they're technically two different things.
Yes. Yeah. It's very true. And on that first Craven, like I have a copy that's it's low grade, not super low grade, but it's got like somebody drew on the chameleon's face, like racing stripes on his face, and it's like I always wanted to get a better looking book, and I'm like, apparently I'm going to be waiting longer for that.
Better learn to love it.
I have a collection, and the guy has 2 of them, and they're like really nice. And I've been like, I might have 3, I don't know. But I offered the dude like a ridiculous amount of money, and I think he's kind of a hoarder, anyways. It's like, so you're never gonna get those books. Like, if you ever go to a hoarder,
want to let them go.
They're never gonna want to let go. He doesn't really. I was like, did you even read these? He's like, what? I didn't read these. That's the kind of like they just hoard stuff. They don't even care.
Yeah.
Like they don't care that it's a comic book or whatever. It's like they just have to have it.
Not
So
like
and I once he didn't sell it, I was just like, okay, it's gonna be a while for me to get this book. But yeah, like Batman 12, it's been on my list for like 3 years in a row. I just can't find the right one that I want to drop it down.
That's got your Jeep on it, right?
Yeah, it's got the Willys. That's the big Batman.
I almost pulled the trigger on a copy, not last year, but the year before, I think. But it wasn't quite presenting.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. It's like I want to. There was a local store that had one. And it was like a 4. And what they wanted for it, I was like, I could probably get a better, deal on eBay or something.
Yeah,
it's just one of those. I don't have to have it unless, and that's one of those books that I'd probably find it like Heroes or one of the bigger shows, but they've all been shut down.
Right.
So it's like I have to just wait.
Yeah.
Do that.
So I'm wondering if Hudat's comment means that he bought everything on his list this month. Well, you've got a couple of weeks to do that.
2021 list part 2.
He sold that Turtles 1 and just got everything he needed.
You got
that just funded the whole year.
Yeah.
Right.
2 years.
You've got until next Thursday, Hudat.
Yeah.
Oh, he's on the show next week.
Yeah, he's on the show next week with Two Brothers Comics and Tony.
So I don't know if you wanted to talk original. We're already at 1 hour and 15 in, but
no, absolutely. I would. Are you targeting anything specific in the original art area?
Well, so
or is it, again, opportunity buys. Hey,
it's not so obvious. I guess I'll start with a little bit of a level set because you can't approach original art the way that you approach comic books. Because if Bona Fide gets a copy of a book and I'm like, whoa, I want that book in my PC, you know what I mean? Then I can add that to my list, do the research, figure out the grade, condition, price point that I want to target for that book. And it may or may not happen at some point, but the chances are it'll happen, if I want it enough, right? Yeah. Whereas with original art, every piece is a 101 piece. And frankly, that's what attracts me to it, right? It's every piece is a 101 piece. That sense of, rarity of it being a 1-in-1 piece makes me feel a lot more fulfilled, I guess, when I add like a published page versus a book, because I know that there are thousands of copies of that book already slabbed in many cases for a lot of these keys.
What do you regret buying or not buying?
Right.
Obviously.
Exactly. What? Sorry, what did you say, Bona?
What original art do you regret not buying? Because there's a couple like that I'm like
plenty, dude. Plenty.
The Matt Wagner first Jason Todd, that 6th, what is it?
The thing, like, if you walk away from a piece and then later on down the line regret that, it may never come up again. It just may never come up again, ever. You know what I mean? Which is a totally different mental frame of mind versus comics. Now, that said, like, I definitely prioritize that now in my collecting, probably over books. I think that's pretty apparent based on the trajectory of where I've been going, at least, even content on my channel and, the things that I'm talking about more regularly. Like, I still am collecting comic books, but I'm in like phase 3 of my collecting comic books cycle, meaning phase 1 was buy, right? Phase 2 was consolidate, do a little upgrade here, a little turning silver and bronze to gold over here, a lot of making moves with my own collection. That was phase 2. And now I'm in phase 3 of my comic book hunting collection phase, which is just hang back, wait for the right opportunities for the things that fit my collecting goals, right? Whereas with original art, I just got done with my phase 1, which was buy. And I've accumulated over 100 published pages. And I think, 170 something pieces of art in my collection. And now I'm sort of looking to do a little bit of consolidating or packaging and trading to try and like level up some things in my art collection. and you'll hear art collectors talk about like examples, right? Like I want to have an example from artist X or artist Y or
Right.
Z in my collection. And I'm very much that kind of a collector where it's like I'm looking at my art collection as like curating my own personal gallery. And it's like, okay, if I were curating my own personal art gallery, these are the artists I would want in that gallery, right? Let me find an example that I'm happy with for all of those artists. And you know, I think I've gotten a good chunk of like what you would consider my grail artists, and even like the next tier down. And now I'm kind of like, okay, I've got the what's it called, the the real big shots left to collect, like John Romita Sr., Frank Miller, like big, like Mobius, like I have like these are big artists where they're not affordable pieces, where it is going to take selling or aggregating some of my existing art and taking those funds to try and get those kind of pieces, right? So that's kind of the phase I'm at in my original art collecting right now, without reading off the whole list or whatever, like, because I made flashcards here or whatever for myself. But yeah, I mean, that's.
I thought I saw him reading something earlier.
Yeah, I got flashcards right
Eating.
here. Yeah.
Nice.
I have a slide deck that I work on, so it makes it easier.
It's hard to wait on original art though, Cobby, because it's just one. So it's like when it's there, it's like, do I just buy it or?
Well, yeah, I mean, you gotta make that decision for yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I have yet to really kind of dip the toe into the whole original art pool, because I know the value of the pieces, like even small stuff, it's in the hundreds of dollars. And but I tell you what though, I mean, if I came across it, finding like an original page from like Witchblade #1 and Darkness #1 from Turner and Silvestri, for me that would just be amazing.
yeah, I mean, one of my main focuses within original art is to collect pages from key moments, key issues. Like I have 26 pages from #1 issues. I have 14, maybe 15 pages that have something key about them or historically significant about them. Like to Bonafide's point, like it's more than just the book or the piece of art. It's like, what is that piece of art representing in the history of comic books? So those kind of aspects are really important to me. Like, so I've really been keeping my eye out on like trying to get first appearance pages or pages from the issue where the first appearance happens, things like that. And I'm trying to focus on that kind of collectability, not only it being one of one, but it having another layer to it that makes it an attractive collectible, right?
One thing I started collecting, it's kind of taken everyone knows about it now because of all these stupid variants, but I was collecting, I loved, I didn't care that it was published. I loved artists' turnarounds. You know what, if a turnaround is, it's the character's design. So like when a new design of a character, like an artist is like, oh, I'm going to redesign the character, they have to make a turnaround. So they send that to DC or Marvel or whatever, and it's on like a published, it's a page. And I was like, that would be the greatest thing to collect. And I've got a couple of them, but then all these variants of like, this is the turn, like the character design of all these guys. I was like, well, I'm screwed now. Everyone's going to want to start collecting these. I was like, no. Yeah. So, and there's one I'm looking for really bad right now. And I've contacted the artist like 1 million times. So hopefully they sell it to me. But I love like character design. I've talked to Jamie about it before, J Hood, that I think that's such a great thing to collect. It's like, like for example, George Perez's like original Nightwing turnaround. Like he redesigned the character of Robin. Now that would be a really cool thing to collect. It's like his design of Nightwing. That one's going to be really expensive, and if I ever get a chance to buy it, maybe it'll be in 100 years, and I'm rich by then. But I'm just saying that would be cool. But I think the turnarounds are really cool. That's something that's not necessarily a published piece.
I mean, original art doesn't have to be published to be original
Exactly.
art or hold value. You know.
Yeah.
Especially from the artist, especially from artists where their published examples are
and it's almost more important
hard.
than the page. Like this is the artist creating a new design for the character's look, which I think is something cool to collect. That's me.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. A complete redesign of the characters. I mean, this is kind of just on the funny end, but like when they did the Heroes Reborn, you had all these top artists that were given carte blanche to effectively redesign all of the classic Marvel characters, and to be honest, when it came out, I thought it was incredible, even, the Hulk with the freaking, like kind of half Bushido haircut, it was just cool the way that they did the stuff, I got to give, hats off to Lee and Liefeld for the work that they did on that.
Yeah, I hear you. For me, the original art game, I've got a few pieces for sure, but there are some classic characters that I would like to have some original art of, and they don't have to be by their classic artists. Mm-hmm. I'm good with crossing that over. That's
where you pay the premiums, are getting the examples from the artists for the characters that they're known for, that you pay the top market rate for.
Exactly. That's where and when you say like, you want to Ramita Spider-Man, okay, well then now you're going to pay up.
For sure.
I'm not really keen on published pages because they're just too daggum big, and I don't have room for. I'm kind of a displayer.
So I switched to portfolios, and
you got to do the portfolios.
It's kind of necessity once you get.
I do a ton of art prints. Like I pick up art prints almost every time I go to a con, and I have I've got 2 full portfolios full of the prints.
It gets up there.
It does, yeah. I had to because they were just all over the place.
Here's the thing: if you guys are interested in, I've talked to a couple artists before, and they'll give you the same rates as they will Marvel or DC. And I'm going to say a lot of them are $1,000.
Oh, sure,
Marvel pays $1,000 for a cover. So if you tell them, hey, I want to do a cover, your favorite book, tell them just do me this cover, and you tell them exactly what you want, it's $1,000. So you can give any artist, unless it's mega huge superstar,
right,
$1,000. I've talked to a couple artists.
Yeah, and that's
the price range is going to vary.
Yeah, it's going to vary.
I would hesitate to say $1,000 gets you a cover quality commission from any art. Like, I know the prices, and that's just not the case.
Well, I said,
yeah, but
not going to.
What you're saying is very sound, because your best method to get the best price is to approach the artist directly and have
it's also a good way to wait 18 months for your art to come in.
Mm-hmm.
In case you guys are wondering, you talk to these artists directly, and sometimes no matter how far ahead you've paid, you will sit and freaking rot for this art to come back in.
I already on my own show have made it known that I just don't have the patience for commissions anymore, and I've some of the outstanding commissions I had that I was waiting like a year on, I was like, you know what, I'm done with this, and I had the money changed into another piece that already exists, a published page instead, or whatever, and like I have one commission that is done that I think might arrive tomorrow or the next day, unless this blizzard gets in the way.
Right.
Of packages. That one's coming from the UK, I think. But yeah. Commissions are a whole it's a whole wild west kind of situation that you can get yourself into.
But you're seeing a lot of these, Comic Con variants or whatever.
Oh,
yeah, they're paying whatever for the book, and then they're paying whatever Marvel to distribute them.
Right.
They're just like whatever.
Yeah, they're set up like a like a store. Yeah.
A store. So if you got the money, you could make your own coffee variant or buffs.
Well, to that point,
I don't think I personally want to get into that. Just because
I don't either. But
it feels like
you did it.
Like a slog, to turn it around. But hey,
I do like.
I'm more the fact that I don't want like the variants to like crush the market. So I'm just like I wouldn't put a variant out, but You can do it. I mean,
Yeah.
I like having my original ideas turned into art because I have no artistic talent at all. So it's nice to find and I've done it a few times and I like to do more of it. So this is kind of where my original art focus is. I come up with the idea, kind of like Andy was saying, and I know exactly what I want. And then I approach an artist that I think would handle that style the best.
Right.
And one good way to find those artists, and they don't have to be big name artists. One good way to find those artists is to look at published interior artists. So people who have done interior art for comic books, you can get a good sense of their style. You can look through several, pieces of their work to see what they're good at, and then contact them. Find them on Instagram, Facebook, wherever they're at. You find them, and you say, "Is your commission list open?" And if they say no, go to the next guy that you think would do a good job, and contact him. And he says, "Yeah, I'll do it." And those prices are much more reasonable. Most of them under $300 for a complete scene. And you can get that done on a cover or just, a 10 by whatever it is, 10 by or 11 by 17 or whatever the hell it is.
11 by 17.
What is it?
11 by 17 is standard size comic board. Yeah.
Right. So you can get it done on 11 by 17. Usually can't get color for that price range because a lot of those same people don't do color, but they'll recommend someone to color. You can have it sent straight out and then get the coloring done. So I know everyone focuses on cover artists and everyone focuses on well-known artists, but a lot of times these comic books, you crack them open, especially on modern books, and there's someone doing some great interior art, and those guys are working under pressure. They're pumping out art constantly, and if you hit them up, you don't have to wait a year and a half to get your stuff. Not always. It still
probably have to wait 6 months though.
Yeah.
But I mean 6 months for something that you envision and you give them the idea. Like if it's just somebody sitting around to do another Wonder Woman bust, I mean, I like Wonder Woman's bust as well as the next guy, but I don't need 50 versions of that in my collection in original art. But if I have a scene that I envision and I want, I guess you got to be a little creative. But if you put that out there, man, people will amaze you with what they're capable of doing. You give just a little seed to an artist, and they'll make it.
And that's how I started collecting original art, was just sketches and sketch covers and just the sketch category in general.
I have a sketchbook that I brought to my very first San Diego Comic-Con, right? And I think I had 2 people, put sketches into it, and then it seemed like shortly after that, they started charging ridiculous amounts of money to do sketches in a sketchbook. And it's like that sketchbook hasn't gotten a single sketch in it since. And I'm like, okay, maybe I need to start, thinking about actually, bringing that back out there, just kind of.
You can buy like their original art for less than.
Right.
Yeah. I'd rather buy like OA than have a sketchbook because personally, like even if you're going to have a non-published piece from an artist, if you can separate that piece and frame it separately or whatever, it's just a cleaner process for me.
I mean, you can buy $25 published pages at cons. I promise you, I've done it before. I mean, you just.
Well, I'm not talking about going after Jack Kirby pages or something like that.
But I mean,
but just I
like when Dame Ayers was on my show, he showed a bunch of Valiant art that he got for like $30 a page or something like that.
Yeah. My wife has actually gotten more into the idea of the original art pieces. Like she wants to commission Jenny Frizen to do a Wonder Woman, page.
He doesn't do commissions.
I know, that's the problem. Which is probably why she hasn't gotten back to her.
Yeah.
But along those lines, something along those lines to put like a Wonder Woman and a Batman, that we'd frame up and put in the bedroom. But so.
Yeah,
it's, becoming more of another idea to do that. We've got a
I mean, I guess the point I was trying to make is like, for like as just an example, like somebody that collects pre-code horror, like DS, for example, like he talks about the scarcity and the rarity of it. Like, there's nothing rarer or scarcer than one in existence.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, and it's a known fact that there's only one in existence.
Yeah,
right. So I think that's why I've gravitated towards it. Not only because I love the medium and I love the art, it satisfies me more as a collector because of that, I guess.
That's fair.
There's a lot of comic dealers that's all they deal in. I mean, look at Anthony. And that's all a lot of his stuff is original art.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank you guys for coming onto the show.
Well, go ahead. Do it. Thank us.
Thank you for coming onto the show.
Yeah.
Hey!
He wants to think.
What a nice guy.
No, seriously. So let's just, I mean, for at least for Kavi and Bub, I know Bonafide's got a channel, but there's nothing on it. But
Sorry.
I'm going to give you guys each an opportunity to talk about what's coming up on your channels. So Kavi, we'll start with you.
Sure. I hit the 1,000 subscribers, but I still have the 1K contest live right now and available on the channel that you can enter via comment, or you can make a video just showing 2 collectibles and shouting out the contest for additional entries if you want. And the prize packages are going to be pretty cool if you watch the contest video. I think Bubs has entered already via comment. Jimmy, I haven't seen your entry.
I don't typically enter the contest. I'd like to give other people the opportunity.
All right, well, yeah, that's your prerogative.
I love you and I support you, brother. You know that.
I think we've had like 110 people enter via comment and 25 people make videos so far. So
I've seen a lot of videos out there.
yeah, so it's still running until through February, like until after Valentine's Day, February 14th, and then I'll do a live, drawing or whatever the hell after that. Other than that, I've got Gotham City Chronicles tomorrow night on JP's channel with Mastodon is our guest, Donnie. And we're covering Batman Ego by Darwin Cook. So yeah,
I had never seen that before he showed that book, and I'm going to check that out just because I love Darwin Cook. And
oh yeah, fantastic artist. He's an artist on my list of I don't have an example and I'd love an example.
Yeah.
And then other than that, the next episode of Original Art Hour is in exactly 2 weeks on the 16th at 11 p.m. Eastern, another bit of a later night episode, not quite as late as my last episode was, which was at like 2 a.m. or something because the guy was in Germany. Yeah. So, but that one's going to be Tuesday, the 16th. 11 p.m. Eastern on my channel with Magic Lasso. So he's going to probably have a ton of Wonder Woman original art to share. And I'll have some of my Wonder Woman original art to share as well.
It'll be fantastic just having Lasso up there.
That'll be a fun one.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I got going on.
Very nice.
What about you, Bonafide? You going to post a video?
Hey, and just support to you guys. Go follow comics. Kavi on Comics NYC, Bubs, and Geek on their YouTube channels. I'm just on Instagram. I have a YouTube, but like I said, it takes a lot to do content.
That is true.
And I've always said that I will support you guys, but I'm not going to put content out. I will be on your channels, but I just my next show is I think I'm in South Carolina at the Captain's Comic Expo in Charleston. So,
hey, dude, I totally get the YouTube and the content thing. I mean, if my job was to sell comic books all day, I don't think I'd want to come on here and do it, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are I've been following YouTube for years, and like that's where it kind of helped me get back into the groove of selling comic books and getting back into collecting. So I appreciate YouTube. I've been there since I can't even remember ETA Nick, all those.
Yeah, ETA Nick.
I've been there forever. So I appreciate YouTube for the comic creators, but content creators, and I'll let you guys do that, and I'll just be on as a guest, and that's my thing.
Yeah.
And yeah. If you guys ever want to have me as a guest, I'll be happy to do it. But I'm not creating any content. I'm on Instagram if you want to follow me. But and my next show is in South Carolina, and I have a couple coming up in North Carolina. So if you guys come down this way to North CAC, be sure to hit me up. And I'll be set up at Hero. Well, if Heroes happens, you guys.
Yeah, we were just talking about. I'd love to go to Heroes this year and possibly even set up, but I don't know when it's happening.
Heroes happens. I definitely want to go. That's the one show I want to go to.
Yeah.
And hang out and go to the after parties or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Bubs? What do you got going on your channel?
Monday night, No Faces Comic Chat every Monday at 8:30 Eastern. Other than that, I'll be still having some hauls. I got a probably tomorrow I'll be dropping a Spider-Woman haul. I'm working on that run too, Spider-Woman Volume 1. So about got it finished. I'm only missing a few books out of that, but that's after I drop show 15 that I picked up the other day. So
Good call.
What issue you need, Bubs?
Yeah.
I've got a bunch.
Oh yeah. I had to look through what I'm missing.
The after show is going to be happening tonight.
Yeah. I think I'm down to like 10 or so, 10 issues that I need for that. So, still buying books. And like I said, picking up books that are in the $40 range, some signature signed books and things like that. So I've got all those haul videos coming out. And then, of course, the show on Monday night. So that's what I've got going on, right now. So.
Hey, if you missed Bubs on Original Art Hour, that was a great episode. So
every episode is great.
Oh, thanks, Bubs. Appreciate it.
Bubs, do you have a Bud Root original art? That's all I need.
I do.
He does. He does.
I have
He
Bud
shared
Root
it on the show. Yeah.
A Bud Root commission that I had him do of my wife. So
Wow.
Bud Root's always like, you want them naked or?
yes, he does. We got a Heroes Con a few years back, and he was very kind. Spent all day working on mine. Actually, 2 days working on mine. So it was a very, very nice guy.
Actually, I come to think of it, I do actually have one piece of original art. It was a commission from Doug Sneed of my wife.
There you go.
Cool.
So yeah.
Did you ask him for that, or you just see her?
Yeah, no, my wife and I. Yeah,
Hey,
I would have
here's your wife.
Hey,
we were
don't
at.
move, honey. Don't move. I got this.
We were at. I want to say we were at either Wizard World. Yeah, I think it was Wizard World. Years back. This would have been 2009 because my daughter was born in. No, it was 2010 because my wife was very pregnant with our daughter, and we were going through there, and we came across Doug Sneed, and my wife saw the stuff. She's like, she recognized the work, and just he had this great Wonder Woman that he did for the show. That was his print for the show, and it was on all the marquees and everything. So we finally got to the booth, and she spotted it, and he said, "Do you want me to do a sketch?" And I was like, "Absolutely, right? Why not, right?" So so that's the only piece of original art that I have at this stage is that one so far, but more to come, more to build on.
Very
It's like
cool.
all these potato chips. Yeah.
Right.
Start somewhere.
You have
Gotta
one.
start somewhere. Yep, absolutely. Well, thanks again, everybody, for coming onto the show. I do appreciate everybody taking the time out of their day, either in the chat or on the show. We've got this coming Saturday is a real special show. This is our first couples show where we'll have Married with Issues, Married with Issues, Delphia and Kachun, and the Comic-holics will be joining us to talk about what they like to hunt together and separately.
Nice.
And if you want to be on the show, just hit me up on Instagram at the Geek Aficionado and let me know that you're interested, and I'll try to get you scheduled up with some of our guests in some of the upcoming shows. We do have shows going into March with all your YouTube creator favorites and those that like to hang out. So come on, make a decision to be on the show and give us a shout out. Other than
Yes,
that,
let's draw this series out until summer at minimum.
absolutely.
Final episode of Heroes Con.
I want to get through the first quarter at least.
You guys going to Heroes September, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Aside from that, I do have some more videos dropping this week. We'll have a treasure hunt haul as well as a comic rehab art of CPR for NYX number 3, the infamous NYX number 3 that I picked up last year at C2E2. And you guys can see the many rounds that it
Quite
went
a saga. Quite a saga there.
Quite a saga.
Good.
You guys-
Yeah.
We'll bring you along for the ride on that one, and that'll be dropping this week. Other than that, thank you all very much for joining us on What Do You Hunt, and we will catch you next time.